Do you know, I swear Elon Musk does something every day to keep the world's attention on him.
Agreed. What's he done this time?
Tesla has filed 4 patents for different types of candy. Supercharged gummies that are supposed to mimic the thrill of acceleration.
That's definitely caught my attention.
You've got cyberberry candy for futuristic flavor explosions. Mango Bolt is to evoke the experience of power, and wait for it, dog mode chill is candy that soothes and refreshes our 4-legged friends.
Well, I can't say any of us saw that coming, but I think it definitely fits with the future of our industry, right? So consumer packaged entertainment only makes sense that Elon Musk would jump on that game. So should we get him on the podcast?
Yes. So, episode 3 already.
Yes, hard to believe, but it's been great to read so many positive comments, Andy. I mean, for our listeners out there to get in touch, go to our Instagram page. It's at ImpactMakersPod. There you'll be able to see pictures of all the products that we've been talking about here in our studio. So if you've got an idea for a future episode, or maybe you want to even offer yourself up as a guest star, let us know. We always love hearing from all of our listeners, and we want this to be the go-to podcast for anyone who loves new products. So don't hesitate to get involved.
And you know, that could be up to 25% of the population. So I read Circana, formerly IRI, they said that apparently 1 in 4 Europeans, at least, claim to be early adopters of new food and beverage products. So that's a lot of potential buyers of innovative products that claim to shift our mood, right?
Yeah, interestingly, I read a survey that found out that 21% of Americans are actually already consuming foods that boost their mood and mental well-being. So that rises to 30% of consumers ages 25 to 34.
And I think it's an area that's going to be much more developed in the States, right? There's just more people there to buy into emerging trends. But
right.
There are some mood-shifting brands making gains here as well. And British listeners probably very familiar with Trip. Now, this brand has really led the way, making the benefits of CBD more accessible. But in what I think is a significant move, Trip recently dropped a range of mindful blends. Now, these feature magnesium, amongst other ingredients that link to relaxation. So, for example, Lion's Mane is a functional mushroom. And on closer inspection, you might think this new venture is a direct result of new advice from the UK's Food Standard Agency, because they've just cut the recommended daily allowance of CBD from 70 milligrams to just 10 milligrams.
Wow, that's a huge drop. I think that also puts the UK out of line with other key markets like Canada, I believe, is about 200 milligrams. The Netherlands is 160 milligrams per day.
It's all rather hazy, appropriately perhaps. But I think Trip is unhappy with this ruling because they say it was based on lower grade ingredient samples. Trip claims that its CBD is high grade. So you can see how the brand is trying to reduce its reliance on CBD. But I'm convinced that the Trip team wanted to get a foothold in so-called other new wave ingredients. And when the pressure's on, you know, people are more likely to seek out new and additional lines of attack, I think. And I think you've been investigating Kava, Caitlin. Do you think that has the potential to eclipse CBD?
I mean, it's definitely springing up all across the United States right now. And there are some questions about safety, as there typically are when new products of this type come onto the market. But quite frankly, this kind of situation can add some kudos. So like CBD, Kava is classed as psychoactive and has also been linked to the reduction of stress, but it's also known for its ability to create feelings of euphoria. And it's being mobilized essentially to support a new generation of mood-shifting products.
And I know that the World Health Organization has expressed concerns over its long-term use. And I mean, surely this is problematic.
It can be, but like other things, anything in moderation is okay, usually, right? So it'll mean, in this case, that big multinationals are unlikely to go here anytime soon and innovate in the Kava space. But there are plenty of innovators on the periphery who are designing products that actually appeal to those who are seeking mood elevation.
Mood elevation. This is definitely something we should be covering, right? Okay, welcome to the Impact Makers podcast, episode 3, Meet the Mood Makers. So you'll have heard of the YOLO economy, right, Caitlin?
Definitely, and I'm an active and willing participant. So we know marketers love a good trend, but seriously, it's become pretty well documented. Essentially, it's because of the world we're living in now. Many people are simply deprioritizing the future. It's too uncertain. Everyone's living for the now.
And one of the stats that I think backs this up was an observation by Deloitte. They found that 43% of the world's consumers plan to treat themselves this year, even if they can't afford to. It's why we have marketeers talking about another trend, daily glimmers. Now, we heard this term in our last episode, didn't we?
That's right. Daily glimmers are those small moments of joy that can help us offset rising stress. And innovators are responding with products that are designed to give us all a little lift, albeit momentarily.
And we're not just talking mood food here, are we, and lip gloss?
Oh, it's way bigger than this. We're seeing the emergence of a so-called soft wellness sector. So that's essentially playful, accessible wellness products, things that are more holistic and targeting emotional well-being, and so far, much less regulated.
Okay, so for soft wellness, are we talking soft science?
Well, many of these products are supported by adaptogens and nootropics, which are becoming more widely known. Adaptogens are said to help the body resist stressors and restore balance, like ashwagandha, holy basil, valerian, etc. Nootropics are linked more specifically to cognitive support. That includes things like ginkgo biloba, L-theanine, caffeine. The science to back up these ingredients is largely inconsistent, however, but this could change as much more trials are undertaken. That said, what these ingredients have enabled smaller manufacturers to create are products that are more intentional, especially in the mood-making space.
It does feel like we are at the beginning of this soft wellness phase and people's preference for more intentional products. We know that Gen Z very much more likely to accept mood-shifting products as part of their repertoire when, somebody much older would probably walk away in confusion. Maybe like myself. And let's not forget developments in the worlds of beauty and personal care products, which probably have even greater permission to enhance mood. And I know you're going to be talking to our TikTok correspondent about the rise of Aura Beauty. I mean, who invents all these terms? So what struck me when we did our homework, because let's face it, this podcast isn't just thrown together, right? What struck me was, one, it's the smaller players that seem to be doing all the work. Big players seem content to just sit back and watch what sticks. And two, many of these products seem to disappear before we even had the chance to try them.
Yeah, that's fair. And let's not forget that some big players operate incubator-style innovation streams. So that means they're supporting new insurgents with cash and expertise. But yes, Andrew, many have fallen. So one example in the US was Moody's. They made mood-boosting ice cream in pint containers with titles such as Awake, Chill, and Deep Yes. But it was withdrawn late last year.
I know hindsight is a wonderful thing, but I'm kind of not surprised there. I'm not convinced that function plays out well in an indulgent format. If people want ice cream, they want it from a company that is passionate about making ice cream.
Maybe. But in that case, how do we explain the staying power of companies like the Functional Chocolate Company? Now, this company markets a growing range of dark chocolate slabs, including Carefree, which contains botanicals and clinically researched and patented ingredients. Rhythm, countering PMS by restoring harmony, and dare I say, Sexy Chocolate, to launch your libido with a natural fenugreek extract.
Ooh, okay, I hear you, but I think there is something about the dosing of a cube of chocolate that makes this more credible than the ice cream. I have a precise square of chocolate. I get the benefit.
And I think this tells us the vital importance of format. But it is incredibly nuanced, right? So a couple of years back, for example, PepsiCo helped nurture a functional beverage brand called Driftwell.
Yeah.
It was a canned beverage in soothing lavender and blackberry flavors that was pitched as a way to prepare for sleep, but it was quietly discontinued last year. So talking with our colleagues across MMR, we felt that cognitive dissonance could have been its downfall. And that's to say there's something counterintuitive about reaching for a canned beverage before we go to bed. On top of all of this, it feels equally counterintuitive to knock back 7.5 ounces of liquid before shut-eye.
Yeah, I saw one website saying it tasted like a nightmare. We have our sensory expert here. Hello, Harshi.
Hi, Andy. So, Driftwell. Well, I can't really speak for personal experience for this brand, but from the reviews, you would expect the functional product to almost have a very deliberate sensory profile. I really think if the mood-based sector is going to succeed, it really has to think about creating products that are maybe not tasting phenomenal, but they have to present themselves with a sensory-generated placebo effect. And what I really mean by that is that the product experience really needs to manifest and back up efficacy through the senses.
Right. So what you're saying is this is in addition to any specific active ingredients, yeah?
Exactly. Yeah. It's a combination of active ingredients and sensory delivery and the format, as I think you've already mentioned before. But what it is people really have to believe the product with a sensory placebo kind of have that sensory cue of efficacy here. We kind of have to recognize that people make judgments about products either consciously or subconsciously, and a lot of this subconscious judgment is achieved via our senses. I often hear consumers a lot telling me that, the fact that it doesn't taste great makes me think it's doing something good for me. And a lot of the time, they don't even know what part of the taste is doing that. It could be very subtle and not super overt, such as a hint of bitterness, for example, in an adaptogenic drink. So for sure, yeah, special ingredients and great taste alone is really no guarantee for success in this space alone.
Yeah, I really like that idea of the sensory placebo, Harshi. When I think about it, the espresso, I want it to be intense, even, if it causes me to screw up my face, which is nothing about liking, of course, but it helps me it reassures me that it's going to do something. I need one now. So is this the kind of work that you do a lot to help manufacturers?
Exactly, yeah, all the time. So this is exactly what we do when, we're trying to understand how to deal with this constant tension that exists between liking, but also finding the right sensory characteristics that might communicate efficacy in a deliberate and very nuanced way as well. This will be the challenge for the mood makers, really.
Cheryl Lim, one of MMR's sensory specialists based in Singapore, has just returned from a trip to Japan, where the market for mood-shifting products is advancing at a much greater pace. We asked her to rummage the supermarkets for products that she believes are pushing boundaries and elevating experiences. This is what she selected.
The first product I want to talk to you about is this mental balance chocolate with GABA from Glico. It offers another layer of relaxation for customers and is formulated with GABA, which is short for gamma-aminobutyric acid, which has a temporary and psychological stress-relieving function. So the on-pack claim translates to reduce temporary and psychological stress caused by work, study, etc. And the product I tried was a 50-gram resealable pack that was easy to carry around. So when you first open the pack, there is a soft, comforting aroma of chocolate. And the chocolate is in the form of small, bite-sized 1 cm cubes that are dice-shaped with round edges that you can easily pop into your mouth for snacking. And the round edges makes the chocolate feel really comfortable in the mouth. So when you eat the chocolate, it actually melts slowly, even at tropical room temperatures, so the experience is more immersive. Tropical room temperatures meaning like hot weather in Singapore. And because of the roundedness, it is tempting to just suck on the chocolate like a lozenge, letting it dissolve slowly in the mouth. You don't have to bite into the chocolate at all to enjoy its flavor, making it a relaxing and calming eating experience. Now, it is never easy to know if the functional ingredient really worked its magic on me or not, but the product experience was so immersive, free of any pain points, that it definitely felt like relaxation on another level. So moving on, I just had to showcase Japan's yogurt category, which is something that I'm really passionate about, because it has to be one of the most advanced in the world, with brands and products competing with a wide range of functional benefits. So Japanese consumers have always struggled with sleep, and their situation was made worse by the pandemic, prompting many to seek out dietary solutions. So that means that most major yogurt brands, including Meiji, Yakult, and Morinaga, now offer sleep-inducing yogurts. So the pack designs for these yogurts tend to be in darker blues, suggesting an evening mood. And some even portray the night sky with moon and stars. So when I tried the product, the sensory experience is similar to the average drinking yogurt, but slightly more fluid, less sweet, and milder in flavors, which makes it really easy on the palate and something that is easy to drink before you go to sleep. And they typically come in smaller 125 to 200 ml packets or bottles, which makes it easy to pick up from the convenience stores and easy to consume at the end of the night. Speaking of which, it is time for a bit here, so I'll say good night to you guys. Bye.
And signing off from Singapore, that was Cheryl Lim, our Asia correspondent. And I can see a greater synergy now between dairy-based drinks and sleep. So perhaps there are opportunities for dairy brands here in the West. Over to you, Andrew.
Thank you, Caitlin. It's been referred to as the shroom boom. Functional mushrooms such as lion's mane have been finding their way into a range of categories from snacks to shower gels. Yes, search foraged skincare for that one. Perhaps the most popular way to experience functional furtherance fungi is in your morning beverage, and brands like Dirt Tea, Space Goods and Reformed are leading the charge. Many of us, of course, already reach for our daily dose of caffeine, the world's most popular nootropic, would you believe, to improve our reaction times, alertness, memory, even mood. But as shoppers become even more intentional in their choices of beverages, innovators are responding with enhanced coffee beverages. And I'm delighted to be able to talk to one of the pioneers, Neil Marachi, of Reformed Coffee right now. Now, you are an early mover in this space. What brought you to this point?
Hello, Andy. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the kind introduction. I've always been very much into fitness and wellness and health in general. And I think that was a very interesting space to be in.
I mean, was it that you wanted to get more out of your existing routines? Is that why you founded this brand?
Well, not exactly, to be honest. I was never a coffee drinker before founding Reform, so that's actually an interesting fact. I grew up with a nutritionist mother, so I guess that did have an impact on the way I perceive and everything I eat and I drink on a day-to-day basis. I remember the idea came, I was with a good friend of mine who I saw pouring some vanilla syrup in his coffee, and I was thinking, well, that's not a very healthy thing to do. Coffee is essentially the second most consumed drink by human beings. More than 4 billion cups of coffee are consumed every single day in the world, and everyone in the space is trying to create the tastiest coffee in the world. Why not take it a step further and try to create the most nutritious, the healthiest coffee that exists while keeping the essence of it? And by essence, I mean taste, texture, smell.
People like me are very protective of our morning coffee routine. So the idea of substituting with an enhanced coffee beverage, there is always that concern that it's not going to quite deliver on the taste, the texture, etc., etc. Is that something that you took very seriously when you developed this product?
Absolutely. And this is why our research and development phase has been quite long. We worked on it during more than a year and a half. We developed over 60 versions of this product to be able to hit something that we were happy with in terms of taste. And obviously, even today, is still the challenge to be able to convince, because anyone really is interested by our product. Any coffee drinker is interested in having something that tastes the same but does better for their bodies. But then obviously the question comes, is it really the same? Does it really taste the same? Am I really going to keep the same ritual? Because people love what they drink every morning and they look forward to it every morning.
And you kindly sent me some in advance so I could actually experience the product, and it did deliver. There's a little bit of a ritual attached to it, isn't there, where you put the ingredients into a mixer and you shake it, a bit like a morning cocktail, to get that froth, to get that intensity, and it delivered. Now, your products, they raise the prominence of collagen. So tell us about that. Why collagen?
Protein is the label that sells best. You go to the supermarket today and everything exists now in a protein version. So that was the initial idea I had. But then obviously we had to choose what kind of protein would be best, for what reason, how, because again, the challenge was keeping the essence of the coffee. So what protein would allow us to keep that essence that we're talking about. And then I started supplementing myself with collagen a year prior to that. And I can safely say that having tried a lot of supplements, collagen has been the one without any doubt that has made the biggest impact in my day-to-day life. It has a variety of potential health benefits. And this is why I think it's such an appealing supplement. I felt a huge difference in my joint pains. I'm sure that anyone that accepts integrating collagen to its routine for a few weeks will really see a big difference.
We'll see a benefit. Yeah. But it's not all about collagen, is it? We also have some shrooms in there. You've got lion's mane and chaga. What does the science say about these ingredients at the moment?
I think we're very much in the early days of functional mushrooms. We've seen some big brands pop up in the United States, now a bit more in the UK as well. We have very little evidence about what functional mushrooms do for our bodies and what impact can they have. We've chosen these two mushrooms, so lion's mane and chaga. We do include extracts of maitake and shiitake mushrooms as well, but our two hero mushrooms in a way are the lion's mane and chaga mushroom. Lion's mane being the one that has cognitive benefits, and chaga the one that we call the immunity mushroom. And we have found throughout our research and development process that these mushrooms, as of now, as of what we know, have a much better impact, a much better effect when combined with other ingredients and creating a synergy rather than having them by themselves.
Yeah, and everything I've seen, Neil, it shows that there are clinical studies out there that suggest there could be benefits. And of course, we're probably at that stage where more trials are needed for more certainty. I'd like to know what your customers are saying about the products.
Of course, the best news we've had since our launch is how people are how happy people are about our product and how they're managing to integrate it to their day-to-day life. It is changing their day-to-day life, their focus, their energy levels, the how sustained that energy that it gives changes the way they live, really. So I'm very happy about it, and I am very confident that our product is really effective.
And did I hear you've been picked up by Selfridges? Is that true?
That's correct. We are due to launch Selfridges in a few weeks' time.
Congratulations.
Great news, especially since we launched in April 2024. We are available in a variety of Pilates studios as well, yoga studios around London and Paris. If just someone is listening to this and wants to give it a try, I would simply recommend to tap feelreformed.com and give us a try. We have a new product, by the way, coming in next week, which probably will already be out when people will listen to this, which is a functional matcha, so an enhanced matcha. So I'm very happy and confident that this will be a big success as well.
Well, thank you. So that was feelreformed.com. Neil Maracci, very good to talk to you. We wish you all the luck.
Thank you so much, Andy. Really appreciate it. Thank you again for the invite.
Bye-bye.
I recall an online mushroom community that we hosted here in the US where our participants actually self-identified as struggling with anxiety or stress. They were open-minded about functional mushrooms, but most of them were not familiar with what functional mushrooms were or could do for them. When we did ask them to do a little bit more research, most of them were highly motivated by the potential benefits, but there were some barriers. Generally, these were around perceived taste and safety. Some were genuinely concerned that they would potentially embark on a trip they weren't looking to begin. Now, after trying, most of them found that their concerns were unfounded, and some of the products were on the better side, but this was often linked to efficacy, which is a big placebo effect that we see cross-category. Overall, our participants expressed intentions to explore some more. We recently utilized an AI-powered chatbot to explore how consumers are interacting with and perceiving different mood-modulating beverages specifically today for what's on the market. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more about the insights we've gained there and hear some more about how we're using AI, get in touch.
So we've brought Harshi back for this edition of Glimmer or Gimmick. This is where we decide whether a new product is genuinely taking a category in new directions in a meaningful way or not. For this episode, we've been out on the beers, haven't we, Harshi?
We have indeed, Andy. And functional beers, as you might expect.
Yeah.
So we've kind of been deconstructing the experience of two alcohol-free beers that are sold here in the UK. The first one is Collider, which is a unwind lager infused with mood-boosting adaptogens to help relieve anxiety and stress without the effects of alcohol. And the second one is Impossible, which does a similar thing with their proprietary nootropic social blend for a relaxing buzz.
Yeah, and what I love about these products is that they divert my attention away from what's been removed. They've added functionality. So I'm no longer experiencing this loss aversion. I also appreciate that the added ingredients have the potential to emulate what alcohol does. That is to help me relax, a kind of beneficial mood buzz, but without the alcohol. So what do we think about these products, Harshi?
So overall, they were pretty interesting. I think, for example, with the Collider, what I thought was super clever was using beer as a vehicle to almost carry some of these very bitter tasting adaptogens, which have almost disguised themselves in as the hops in a beer. For me, it really showed some potential, but it was slightly too bitter for a lager, in my opinion, potentially closer to an IPA or an APA.
Yeah, I'm just going to open the Impossible Brew now.
Okay. You know, what they've both done really well is actually emulating the beer experience, particularly the Impossible Brew, which you have in front of you now. The mouthfeel and the body of it, it's pretty impressive, don't you think?
You know, it is, there's no hollowed out sort of taste here. It is quite full bodied.
Exactly. So, and this is where, for many people looking to reduce their alcohol, the sensory experience of these products is highly reminiscent of beer and that beer moment. So much so that I really don't think many people would be able to tell you it wasn't beer in the first place. So overall, I would say it is a glimmer, but it's a glimmer for those people who really enjoy the flavor of beer and are looking for products to be able to get that without the guilt or the impact of alcohol. And like you said, it gives you a little bit something extra than just trading to the non-alc version with a little bit of an added benefit. But for me, the promised mood shifts still do feel slightly gimmicky. I'm not sure the adaptogens are in there in, you know, the levels or the amounts that promise such large shifts. You know, I do feel like a lot of these effects come from a placebo. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but a lot of hope for these sorts of products.
Yeah, from a taste perspective, they are strong performers, and I do think that they are doing something to perhaps give new energy to no and low beers. So I'd like to think these are glimmers. Yeah, I agree with you.
Totally.
Thanks, Harshi.
Such an interesting area. And I think it's likely to develop into a more mainstream area of no and low alcohol in the next 5 years.
I think you're right, Caitlin. It's inevitably going to require one of the bigger breweries to step in, isn't it? But I was talking to one of our colleagues over in the US, Keenan. He was speaking about the constant pressure on people these days to sort of better themselves, to improve, to be the best version of themselves. And he says that, you know, in his view, it creates this sort of relentless pursuit among people to upgrade mind, body, and performance.
And I think consumers are thinking about their performance in much broader terms. So no longer just about physical or even mental energy, but also about emotional well-being, that soft wellness arena we discussed. But we should also acknowledge the emerging science on the gut-brain axis, or as some say, the mind-body connection.
Yeah.
So that the state of our gut not only impacts our digestive health and immunity, but also our mood. Social listening data shows that global search interest around pro and pre and postbiotics continue to grow by 20% per annum. Now, here in the US, we have a brand called Belly Brain that makes living probiotic smoothies that feature strains that are shown to keep cortisol levels in check, thereby regulating stress.
That's very much in early adopter territory, of course. But what we need now is innovation that is much more accessible and targeted, I think, to specific needs, such as managing stress or improving mental clarity. Yeah, over here we've got Grenade. Grenade gave protein bars mass appeal with exciting flavors, indulgent textures, and it's now one of the biggest count lines in the UK, so it can be done.
No better place than TikTok to get a handle on how the world is rolling. For everything, everywhere, literally all at once in the palm of your hand. For this, we tap into the social media expertise at the Together Agency. Here's Shania Wilson. So Shania, first up, let's hear a little bit about how TikTok demographics are changing.
Sure, so it's still primarily a Gen Z talking shop, but there is evidence to say it's diversifying. Earlier in the year, it was reported that millennials in the 30 to 49 bracket were joining the platform at a faster rate than the core 18 to 29 year demographic. In fact, there's an entire community of creators on TikTok who create niche content based on millennial experiences and nostalgia. Together Agency's own Will Hallam falls into this category of creators. His content highlights growing up in 90s Britain and all things millennial. He's quickly amassed over 13,000 followers.
Wow, big up to Will. And I know Andrew's on TikTok now, and he's Gen X, so it seems like the community's growing in all directions. So Shania, for those of us who don't have the time, what's new and trending on TikTok this week?
Well, this might surprise many since TikTok is associated with more extrovert content. But the concept of acting demure, reserved, modest, has been kicking off big time. The word has recently become very popular on the platform, with creators describing everything from relaxing in bed, eating a snack, as demure. And not everyone gets it.
Can someone please explain this demure trend going around? I literally have no idea what it means, okay? It's very demure, it's very mindful. Is the way I'm holding this cookie right now demure? Is it very mindful? I'm getting confused by these videos. I literally have no idea.
And some brands are using the demure trend to their comms, such as this from Duck Donuts in the States.
Do you see how I get this tub? Very demure, very mindful. I keep everything exactly where it's supposed to be. You see that? I keep it cutesy. Yep, very demure.
We can only speculate what this trend could mean for product innovation. Now, what have you found for us in the mood space?
We're definitely seeing a shift in the beauty space. When using search terms like holistic beauty or holistic skincare on TikTok, thousands of results appear. Everything from natural skincare products infused with essential oils to using jade rollers. The concept of spirituality and manifestation has been popular on TikTok for a while now, but we're seeing it continue to grow, with the use of hashtags, #CrystalTok, #Aura, and even the Aura Points TikTok trends. So when thinking about the connection between fragrance and identity, Glossier's You perfume is a great example. Not only is it popular on TikTok, it's described as a skin scent enhancer that smells different on everyone, so it's authentically you.
You know a perfume is amazing when all of your friends ask you for a spray of it before you go out. Not to mention, it's such a confidence booster. I'm the one with the perfume that everybody wants a spray of. The coolest part about that experience is that when we all went out, we didn't all smell the same. This perfume reacts differently with everybody. So some of my friends smelled really spicy, some smelled really floral. If you and your friends want to smell amazing, this is where it's at.
And that was kt.org and The Top Note.
I personally am a huge advocate for skin scents. I absolutely adore them, and this is one of my favorites to wear. It is perfect for every day, and that perfume is none other than Glossier You. A skin scent is a term used to describe a perfume that doesn't really smell like you're wearing perfume. It just smells like you're really clean and really fresh. It blends into your skin just beautifully. I always know when someone's wearing Glossier You, and I always compliment them because they smell amazing.
One brand starting to trend is BB, with fragrances including The Other Room and Boy of June. The fragrances are not merely scents, but the narratives, stories woven from the threads of its founders' inner world.
It's a hugely exciting area for fragrance, and according to International Flavors and Fragrances, 75% of all emotions generated every day are due to smell.
And Fern, which is with a double F, is a natural fragrance company in the west of England. It recently marketed its new rhubarb fragrance by getting users to share childhood stories that they associate with the scent. And here's a TikTok featuring a lot of growers from a male voice choir.
Sort of hint of ginger in there. Certainly not unpleasant. You can smell the hints of rhubarb in there. Rhubarb to me is the back garden at my mum and dad's house at Halifax Road in Dewsbury. Obviously it's a very outdoory smell, sort of fern and leaves and that sort of a smell.
My favourite song is called The Answer to Everything. Don't ask me a mountain of questions. When I... It smells quite earthy, quite natural, not too strong.
Nice and delicate. Refreshing, yeah. I've paid a lot more for a lot less.
It's a great example and in tune with people's desire to really connect to simpler times. Have you got anything else for us?
Yeah, so less of a product per se, but there is a trend within the TikTok wellness community, highlighting food and beverages that will boost your mood. So we have TikTokers such as The Wellness Farm, prescribing some of the foods that will increase serotonin levels and impact mood.
Eat these foods if you want to be more mentally stable and increase serotonin in your brain. Foods like avocado, salmon, leafy greens, Oysters, which are also an amazing aphrodisiac. Serotonin is also made in your gut, so to improve the gut-brain connection, dark chocolate, yogurt or coconut yogurt, bone broth, which is also great for leaky gut. These last 4 items are brain protective and filled with calming antioxidants. Items like green apple, items like walnuts, matcha, and of course, berries.
And outside of food and beverages, a video from the Head Spa in Manchester has gone viral, promoting a scalp massage technique that aims to distress. We see customers in deep relaxation as their scalps are massaged by a series of gentle water jets that gradually move up and down, from the forehead to the nape of the neck. Mesmerizing.
Thanks, Shania. You should really watch that video. It is mesmerizing.
And we've had a few of those pop up in New York as well. I might have to mosey over there today and indulge post-recording.
Now, can I just say, I have picked up this Boy of June because I am a Gemini, so I have permission to buy this. It's a costly thing doing this podcast. You end up buying all sorts of new products. I feel, using it, wearing it, I've got a great affinity because it's called Boy of June, but also it feels perhaps more mystical because it's supposed to be, as Shania is saying, connected to the subconscious of its inventor. So, Caitlin, I need your advice here. Say I got $1 million invested across FMCG. I'm thinking maybe I take a wodge of money out of plant-based and I stick it in mood making. What would you say?
I think it sounds like a safe investment, Andy. Honestly, we're seeing so much emerging in the space, hinging on that gut-brain connection. We talked about how there isn't necessarily the science behind all of the ingredients that might help support this connection currently available, but definitely on the rise. And given the interest that we see of Gen Z in the space, we know that there's a lot of future momentum.
Yeah, I mean, this does have Gen Z written all over it. And we know that they've entered FMCG at a time where they accept propositions that can help shift mood. I mean, maybe even 10 years ago, that was just too far-fetched. But now it's a much more viable, credible proposition, isn't it? And with every brand that launches, it just adds further momentum and credibility to this space.
That's right. And I think, too, we see alongside the rise of these ingredients that are obviously having influence, providing functional support of some kind to the consumer, there's this element of the sensorial play as well, where we see some of those more engaging and higher sensorially driven experiences really bringing joy and delighting the consumer, even if they're not necessarily providing some kind of direct physiological benefit.
Yeah. So I think, there is the sort of functional element, but there is also this daily glimmers type thing where sensory also plays a role, doesn't it? It's not just the placebo effect around function, it is also the sensorial highs. We've mentioned a few products on our podcast today. Where do they go, Caitlin, for the Instagram?
That's once again at Impact Makers Pod, all one word.
Good. I will let Caitlin do that every episode because I'm not as good at it. So with episode 4, we thought that we would look at why consumers around the world are reaching for more extreme taste profiles, extra sour, extra bitter. So we're going to have a look at some of the products that are really, really pushing boundaries in that sensory space and be talking to some sensory experts about why. Should be exciting.
I think so. I mean, I don't know about you, Andy, but I personally love sour and tart things, from candies to cocktails, whatever it may be that presents a kind of fruitier, more acidic feel. So I'm looking forward to learning all about what's available out there around the globe.
Yeah. Anything that makes you froth at the mouth.
Definitely.
Okay, so yeah, that's a wrap for episode 3. If you have not listened to our first 2 episodes, The Rise of Store Brands, Adventures in Beverages, go check them out on your preferred podcast supplier. But we'll be back very soon with episode 4, When Things Turn Sour.
Bye.
Goodbye.